Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome back to my channel. And today I have a fun little project for you. It's a project share and a tutorial. And I made them using paper from the Cozy Lodge pad from Recollections. It is one of the 3 Christmas pads I'm currently working on using up. So something that you'll notice probably over the next several weeks is that I'm kind of jumping back and forth from pad to pad as I move through the project. So anyway, today's project is from the Cozy Lodge. But if you've watched any of my videos kind of from this past fall or the last several weeks, you may have heard me talk about how after Halloween, we had a Halloween party at the very end of October, and we had a bunch of these little, not these, but the non-Christmassy snack size Hershey's bars that we had intended on using for s'mores, and we couldn't because of the rain. And so I have been trying to come up with a way to use those for a craft show item. And I knew kind of what I wanted to do, but I couldn't find a good example of it online. Most of the Hershey's bar projects involve like the big Hershey's bar, or they just involved one being incorporated into some other type of packaging. And so I had wanted to come up with a way to do something with like 3 of them together. And it took me a while to kind of figure out what I wanted to do or how to do what I wanted to do. And so here we are, we have our last craft show this weekend, and I finally got these all figured out. So in the meantime, I had been putting them into my Starbucks hot cocoa packets. And I had sold out of all those and even had an order for some more. So I actually went through most of the non-Christmas Hershey snack size bars. And so I ended up having to go buy some more of and I got the Christmassy kind because I had already put so much time and brain power into trying to figure out a project for these. Now I really wanted to use them. So I had some of the plain ones left that weren't holiday, and then I also had a bag of the Christmassy ones. So, and again, these are just the snack size Hershey's bars that I'm using in my project today. But what I ended up coming up with was a little matchbox style holder for the 3 Hershey's bars. So here you can see these are the non-Christmassy ones. And I knew I had kind of wanted to keep it simple, and I had wanted a way that I could attach the Hershey's bars to my package, but also leave an opening that if someone wanted to, they could slide a gift card down in behind there and kind of use it as a way to gift a gift card with a little bit of something extra. So I ended up, the matchbook concept isn't new, it's been around for a long time, usually used for like little notepads, or I think I've seen it with chapstick and maybe Ghirardelli's. And so I kind of adapted it to my Hershey's bars. I put the 3 Hershey's bars together and measured the width I was going to need for my holder, and then kind of worked up a template for the length that I would need as well. And like I said, I used the Cozy Lodge paper for a bunch of these. And these are just the other examples that I had. And for the packaging, this is just clear bags they're the A2 size clear bags from clearbags.com. And I will leave a link in the description box below to the specific ones that I got, but they fit these almost perfectly. And I debated about adding a topper on them just because I was running short on time and I don't know, was feeling a little bit lazy, I guess. But then remembered that my whole purpose of using this paper on these also was to use up the paper, and I have a lot of little scraps left. So I decided to do just a real simple topper on my bag. And let me pull out an empty one that's easier to see. I just went through my scraps and found ones that were anywhere from 1.5 inches to 1.5 inches to 4 inches wide, and they had to be at least 4 5/8 inches long to cover the top of the bag. But I wanted the opening at the bag at the bottom so that people could get in there and slide a gift card into the holder if they wanted to. So I just folded over my scrap and stapled it to the top of the bag. So very simple, but I feel like it gives it a little bit of something extra. So these were the other ones that I've done so far with this pad. Some more of that red snowflakes, and then I did a little gingham one, and I just decorated them with stickers from my stash or cut aparts from the pads, depending on which ones that we're looking at. And then I have one more that we are going to make together today, and I made a template for myself. I always like to do this so that I can kind of keep it in a file folder and pull it out next time I want to make something similar. So my holder ends up being 3 3/4 inches wide by 8 3/8 inches long. And now you may end up having to slice a little bit off here on this front panel, depending on how wide your contents are when you go to tuck it in. I've had to slice a little bit off when I'm tucking it in, but I start with at least 8 3/8 inches long. So you'll need a scoring tool of some sort. I'm just using a really old trimmer that still has the scoring blade. And my first score line is at 3/4 of an inch from one end. So I chose not to use directional paper on any of mine just because I didn't want to have to think about it. Right now, my capacity to think things through like that, it's just not there. I'm tired. I'm just, yeah. So I kept it simple on myself and chose a non-directional paper. If you are using directional paper, keep in mind that some part of it is going to be upside down. So I score at 3/4 of an inch from one end, and then I just slide it over and go to the other end, and I score at 3 5/8. So that's halfway between 3 1/2 and 3 3/4, and then I score again at 4, and that's it. And so I am not using a bone folder to burnish these either, just because with the glitter on the paper and then with the weight of the paper, it wants to tear if I burnish it too much. So right now I'm folding it just enough so I can see where my fold lines are, so that when I decorate it, I can kind of get myself centered. So to decorate this one, I pulled out this old dimensional snowman globe from Sandy Lion Essentials. It says 2004, so pretty old. I think I inherited this one. It has not been in my stash that long, but it has been in someone's stash apparently for, gosh, 15 years. If I can figure out how to open it, there we go. So I'm just using the snow globe. I'm not going to use, I don't think I'm going to use the other parts of it. And then to back my snow globe, I just cut a little piece of black cardstock, and I think it's 2 1/4 inches wide by 2 1/2 inches tall. And so I was just gonna center that on there. And to put my little cardstock backing piece on, I'm just using score tape. I wanted something strong to hold. One, I want it strong to hold, you know, if people are going to be handling it. 2, it needs to be a strong adhesive because it's being attached to glitter accents. And I chose score tape instead of wet glue just because patients don't have any. So I'm going to take off my tape backing and try not to get my head in the way. I'm going to go a little bit more towards the top of this front section, just in case I do trim off the bottom, and also so it doesn't get in the way of my, when I tuck it under that little stapled flap at the end. And then I think since this guy's been around for a while, I'm going to add a little bit of tape to him too. I just don't trust that adhesive. All right. Oop, may have to fix that little part there as well. And okay, so I am also going to add some tape on the back of here, because this little sticker is older, almost twice as old as my youngest daughter, who's about 7. Alrighty. So there is the front of my holder, and now I can kind of fold my score lines a little more. Again, I don't want to crease them too hard so that they start to tear, but I do want them to hold their shape. So that was the easy part. The hardest part I have found is getting the Hershey's bars stapled into here. One thing to note, I have found that doing the non-holiday bars are easier because you don't have to necessarily worry about which direction they're facing. Like, I don't want to put my snowman upside down, but you can pick, like, sometimes there's one end of the bar that's curled, like this one end of the wrapper that's curled, and so you can always make sure that the flatter end, the straighter end, is at the bottom and easier to staple. And also you can tell here that the end of the wrapper is a little bit longer on the non-holiday Hershey bars. So something to note to make your life a little bit easier. I thought it was going to be better to be festive, but not necessarily the case. So also, while I'm here, I might actually use a little bit of these snowflakes. We'll see if they'll stick. Just to give it a little bit of something extra and to help use up these stickers. I don't know if I want to put a 4th one on there or leave the 3. I usually like to do odd numbers, but may end up coming back and adding because don't know that I like that. And we'll see. May end up adding a 5th one on there to make my odd number, but I'm getting off track here. Okay, so I have also found that to make it easier, take some adhesive and fold in that bottom flap and put some adhesive right above where that flap ends. And this will help hold the bars in place. And then when you're putting them in, you want to make sure that they're low enough that you'll be able to staple that bottom flap, but high enough that the candy bar itself isn't going to interfere with your stapler. And like I said, this was kind of the hardest part for me. There was one that I had to, it took me like 4 tries to get it, the staple actually through the wrapper. And I don't have a tiny attachler. I'm just using your basic swing line office stapler. And then I want to put my staple high enough that I'm going to catch the wrapper, but low enough that I'm still going to have some space to tuck my front cover in. So it's kind of your best guess. And at least with the adhesive there, it does help, will help hold them into place, and I'm putting them in a wrapper. So, okay, so you can see here how this has like buckled up a little bit. So that's what I meant when I said at the beginning that you may want to slice a little bit of that off. So let me get things out of the way so I can pull my trimmer over. And so I'm just going to turn this over upside down and take at least 1/8 of an inch off. And then very carefully bring it back and see how that works. Because I found I needed a longer front flap on the non-Christmassy bars than I do on the Christmas bars. So I think that one's okay. So there is our Hershey, our snack size, Hershey snack size candy bar holder. And then I do have a bag for this one already. And again, I tried to mix and match my toppers with the paper that I was using on the holder, just so they're not all matchy-matchy. For some reason, I'm not in a matchy-matchy mood lately. And then I will fold that up and seal it. And there we go. So I have, get my mess out of the way here, I have 5 from this paper pad. Because again, I was trying to pick non-directional papers that were kind of fun or whimsical. The rest of the papers in this pad were just kind of, I don't know, they didn't scream whimsical to me. So I also did some others from other pads that I have, like there's these, and again, these I just decorated with cut aparts. And then I have some glittered holly ones. And then I have just a couple of candy cane ones. So I think in total I have like 13, which isn't a ton, but my original point to doing this was just to use up the bags that I had, and then because I had already put the time and effort into figuring out how to do them, that's why I bought the extra bag. But that is my project for you today. If you have any questions on anything, let me know. I will include links to some of the products down below for you, and I will include my measurements for the template down below as well. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, because like I said, I'm working on 3 Christmas pads, and after this craft show this coming weekend, December 7th, I hope to kind of dive full force into finishing off those pads. So hopefully there will be lots of ideas and projects flowing your way the rest of December to keep you in a crafty Christmas kind of mood. And then I've decided that 2020 is my year of using things up, and so there should be tons of projects, ideas, motivation, inspiration coming your way in 2020. So please subscribe and stay tuned for all that. But I thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season and a crafty week.